In sports, the scoreboard doesn't tell the full story, but Netflix does. Stories about dads who happen to be world-class quarterbacks and a battle for the heart, soul, and direction of the multi-billion-dollar business of F1. Whether you're a diehard fan or you're brand new, Netflix has the stories for every type of fan. You can watch these incredible sports stories like Quarterback, F1 Drive to Survive, Untold, and many more now on Netflix.
Apple Card is the credit card created by Apple. You earn 3% daily cash back up front when you use it to buy a new iPhone 15, AirPods, or any products at Apple. And you can automatically grow your daily cash at 4.15% annual percentage yield when you open a high-yield savings account. Apply for Apple Card in the Wallet app on iPhone. Apple Card subject to credit approval. Savings is available to Apple Card owners subject to eligibility. Savings accounts by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, member FDIC. Terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day, and that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
Welcome to Scarlet's Fever, the home of Saucepan Central and Westerer is Besterer.
Hello and welcome to this week's Scarlet's Fever with me, Lee G. Joining me as always is Big M and Hugh Flatcap. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we?
Evening, I'm good, mate. Good.
You what? I missed that bit, but what?
Good evening, I'm good, mate.
Oh, that's all right then. I thought you were starting to go off on something already. I thought you were starting to do the commentary on the game and stuff.
Oh, I'm diving in straight away. No holding back.
No holding back. So, Hugh, tell us about this week's hat. Anything special? Anything of interest?
No, this is a returning hat. You've seen all my hats now. Well, no, there's a special hat, but I need a special occasion to wear it. Trust me, you'll know which one's the special hat when you see it.
I don't know what it is. This one, it looks a bit too big, to be honest, but it looks huge.
It is too big. It is too big. This hat was someone else's before it was mine.
Looks a bit peaky at the front. Looks a bit,
My caps do that.
Yeah, but if you're going to wear a flat cap, you've got to make it look nice, mate. Come
on.
I think I've worn the wrong one. I should have worn my blue one to go with the jumper.
You just haven't coordinated well enough.
I haven't coordinated.
No. Dreadful.
Speaking of lack of coordination, we're here to talk about the Scarlets, I believe.
Wow.
Excellent. Well done. Yeah. So before we do, we're going to introduce a couple of sections, or reintroduce a couple of sections, if you like. So we're going to condense all of Martin's complaints and moans and grumps and gripes from the week into like a 2-minute section, and we're going to call it Martin's Moans. And we're going to start with that every week so we can get it out of his system and he can just get it all out there, and then the rest of the pod can just be normal complaining and normal moaning. So let's have the very first ever Martin's Moan. Go on, Mart, all yours.
The first ever one, so bear with me. This might be a hard listen first time round, but no, it's always annoyed me, and it gears on my tits every week, because it happens every week with at least one or two teams. They name their 15, they're 23, and then match day comes and someone's pulled out, or an hour before in the warm up. I mean, what these boys' bodies better than them. If there's even a chance that they're not going to be playing, why name them? Because you're not only messing up your own bloody systems, you're going to make it easier for your opponents. You know what I mean? Like we had Yo and Nicholas come in for Tom Rogers this week, an hour beforehand. Morgan Jones for Jack Price last week. And Dan Lydiard pulled out for personal reasons. You know what's going on in these people's lives. You know how they are physically. Why are you naming them in a team and then go and disrupt that minutes before match? Like I don't get the mentality there. I just don't understand it.
Is that the grump over? Is that your grumble done?
That's my mini grump. I got to start it slow.
Oh shit! There's more, Hugh. There's more to come. Go on then, carry on.
No, I'm not carrying on. I'm doing a mini one. Just a mini. I don't want to take up too much time. I want to slowly see how much I can push it before it gets too much.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen the way we've played over the last couple of weeks. I don't think it's going to take much to push it, mate. Trust me. So, our next little bit to throw in there is going to be Hugh's magic numbers. So we tried doing Hugh's magic numbers before, and then I keep forgetting. So I'm going to give it its dedicated own little section now, so we can have a bit of a stat blast. Basically, what we're doing here is finding ways to not talk about the game for as long as possible.
You didn't tell me that. These are about the game.
Okay, no, that's fine. They can be about the game, but there'll be numbers about the game, and then But I want to give you your own little slot, just so you can have your little bit, because I'm nice.
Okay. So my magic numbers for this week are about the game. Next week I'll make them about something else. The unless we win, that would be silly. That's not going to happen.
Then it'll be about the game.
Yeah. Right. So I was doing the research ready to chat about this week's game, and I was looking into the differences between this game and when we last played the Stormers last year in South Africa. So we played them in South Africa last year as well. And one thing that I noticed was between the 23 that we had out in this game and the 23 we had out in the last time, there was only 4 players the same. So there's 4 players in the same jerseys, one of which was actually Archie Hughes, which I wouldn't have thought. Archie Hughes was wearing 21 in both matches. And then there was another 4 players that were in the 23 that had changed positions. They're either in the bench or starting, vice versa, or playing in a different position. Whereas the Stormers had 9 players the same, identical, and then another 4 players on top of that were in the 23. And our average age in the last time we played them was 28, and our average age this time was 25. So, 25. And that's with the likes of J Mac and John Fox and stuff in the team. So that tells you just how young our team was. So that kind of emphasizes just how it's basically we started this season as a brand new team. It's essentially a completely new team. And this is my frustration with the Scarlets, is our inability to field a consistent team over the last however many seasons, and why I was so frustrated with Dwayne Peel with the Cardiff game when he put out a team of players that weren't going to play. And how he essentially wasted a third of our, what you couldn't even call that a pre-season, but whatever it was, we wasted a third of it. So, that's my magic numbers. That's the detail on how unsettled the Scarlets are at the moment.
Yeah, and I think that's, given that we're meant to be playing with a smaller squad, I understand the younger bit. I get that. Yeah, I thought that was going to be a natural kind of a thing. But you would have thought playing with a smaller squad, we would have kept a lot of the decent play. It's not like we lost a lot of them to international duty, because we haven't. So, that is a bit of a...
8 of the players that played in the last game against the Stormers, which was November last year, 8 of those are not with the Scarlets anymore.
Wow.
8.
What was the score last year, Hugh? You got that written down?
36-19.
36-19. So, still nowhere near as bad as last week, is it? No. Blimey. Okay. Well, we will return to this week's game later, because I've just recorded the rap podcast, and I think I got all my anger and all my frustrations out in that podcast, and we can have a bit more of a constructive thing. But there were a lot of words in my review of that game that started with F and rhymed with duck. There was an awful lot of it. So Yeah.
James messaged me while he was doing it. He was like, Lee's going off here.
Sometimes you just got to get it out. If you keep it in your system, it doesn't do you any good at all. You got to get it out there, and you just got to. And like I said to the boys on the pod, just because I can stand there and criticize that performance from last weekend does not mean that I'm being negative about the Scarlets. We expect a certain level of performance. We expect a level of intensity, and we expect a level of skill that was not on that pitch on Saturday. And to be quite honest, it was a fucking load of bollocks. See, I've started again now. There we go. Oh,
family friendly.
Bollocks it is. Right. Let's have a look at the Scarlets in the Premiership then. So, Martin, the Drovers continued their fine start to the season. So tell us about the Drovers game last week, mate.
Yeah, another comfortable victory from barring that slip up away to Ebbw Vale. They're looking bang on to be top of the Premiership once again this year. 38-7 at home to Neath. Our boys are involved. Tommy Lewis, who picked up a hat-trick last week, he started again at 15. We had Harry Thomas, young boy hooker, keeping Taylor Davis out of the team. This boy's 18 years old and he's keeping Taylor Davis, who was, started a few matches for the Scarlets last year. So that should tell you something about this boy. Then we got Ed Scragg, who we brought in, and we had two young centres, Max Page and Gabriel McDonald, and they both crossed the whitewash themselves. So, impressive bunch.
But we should say it was against Neath. So, it was... The demise of Neath is just shocking, really.
It's not the demise anymore. It's the re-rise because they've come back up.
Yeah, I mean they've come back up.
That's what I was about to say. I swear they'd already been down.
Yeah, they have. But you look, they came back up with Pontypool, and Pontypool are doing all right. But they're fifth or sixth, mid-table, aren't
they? They're flying high. Pontypool. They're doing awesome. Fair play to them.
And Neath are going to go back down.
I watched the game between Pontypool and Newport on the opening day of the season. I thought it was a great game. Not to praise, the opposition too much, but I thought it was a good game.
Yeah, we can praise all the smaller teams in that area, just not the main one.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us about Carmarthen Quins and Swansea then, mate.
Yeah. Oh, where to start with this game? This was one that the Quins would have 100% been targeting. A home game against one of the, weaker sides, if you want to say, in the Premiership. And Swansea just came out and they put them to the sword, in all honesty. They raced off into a lead, and it was all the Quins could do to really fight back and make the score a bit respectable. 18-25 in the end, so they picked up a losing bonus point. Sam O'Connor, loose head prop, he went over for the final try. So it's good to see he's still getting minutes. He was with Llanelli last year. So I'm happy that he's, settled with another club, even if it is, 20 miles up the road. Other players we had involved, one that might shock some people is Scott Williams has been featuring for the Quins this season. I think he's had two.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. This is either his second or third appearance. He's been with them. Evan Jones, Teddy Leatherbarrow, and Lewis Morgan, another young hooker. They've all been involved in this team.
It does.
It's the Swansea.
But the Scott Williams thing seems odd. Do you know what I mean? I can't.
I don't think it is, because last year we didn't see much of him, and he wasn't exactly his best. That little feature he had in one of the friendlies where he was so off the boil. And I think this is the end of Scott. We've got Joe Roberts, Johan Nicholas, Eddie James, and obviously we've got Foxy as well. But I don't think Foxy's going to last all that much longer. I think this is the last. Don't think we're going to see Scott Williams in a Scarlet jersey again unless we have some catastrophic injuries. It's just the way it is. And he's literally, if he's playing with the Quins, then he's obviously not in Peel's mind. he's playing the same level as, the 18, 19-year-old Max Page and Gabriel McDonald. So what does that tell you about where he is in the pecking order?
Yeah, or it could just be, he's not in South Africa, so he's got to maintain fitness.
Yeah, but they took Eddie James to South Africa ahead of him. And Eddie James is obviously one for the future. I mean, Peel's kept him around for some reason, hasn't he? I mean,
he is coaching a lot with the academy. Like, I know he's heading up the senior academy boys, the 21, 23-year-olds. That's what he's doing behind the scenes at the minute. He's coaching and he's leading in that group.
And I would have thought that someone like Scott Williams and, to be honest, Foxy, that would be that's what I would keep them around for. I would genuinely keep them around for that experience of, I went in today and yesterday was coached by Scott Williams and today I'm with Foxy. So do you know what I mean? If you're coming through academy and those are the boys that you're working with, you're walking a little bit taller and a little bit stronger, even if you are Eddie James, So yeah, I can see the point in keeping them around, but with money being the way it is, that's a lot of investment on someone that isn't necessarily going to return, But yeah, we could say that about a lot of people, That's Samson Lee.
Yeah, let's not get started there.
That's just like driving a stake through Martin's heart when you suggest that Samson Lee might be coming to the end of his career.
Oh, it's not just Samson, any front rower. It's heartbreaking for me, man.
Okay, so let's dive into the game on Saturday. It was on Saturday, wasn't it? Yeah, Saturday.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can't find any positives in that game. I genuinely can't. I've watched it on replay. I gave up watching it when it was on, and I left the room. I had to go get a cup of tea, and then every time
lovely scenery, lovely location. It's like I'm going there on holiday.
Yeah, it was amazing, wasn't it? It's like something off a John Ross painting, wasn't it? It's like, I'm just gonna put a little set of posts down the bottom here. And,
but this is where the world's best schoolboys go. Is Craven Week, Danny Craven Stadium. They get to go there. Obviously once in a lifetime. But you're that good. You're 15, 16 years old. You're in that environment. How amazing must that be?
It is. I mean, it was literally as close to a picture perfect. If you put that on a photo on a wall, or you painted that on a wall, you almost wouldn't notice the rugby pitch. Do you know what I mean? You'd just be looking at it and going like mountains and hills and
just postcards. It was postcards sort of thing, wasn't it? Like if you went there and you saw that on a postcard, you'd buy a couple, wouldn't you?
Well, you wouldn't have blamed the cameraman from leaving what was going on the pitch and just panning around for it, because it was more interesting. If you're a Scarlet supporter, it held more interest. You might see an eagle, you might see a bird that you don't know, you might see a strange cloud formation. It would have provided some interest. It would have provided more than what was happening on the pitch. But the scenery was literally the only positive that we could pull out of that game.
Was it worse than the Bulls? The scoreline wasn't as bad, but for me, it was a worse performance.
Oh, scoreline was worse for me. 52-7. That was a 45-pointer. That is so hard to take. And like Lee said, I can't find any positives outside of a couple individual performances, which is the same as last week. I just don't know what the mindset was going into that game. I mean, let's be honest, just the kick chase for the first 5-10 minutes. I mean, some of the boys looked like they were blowing already.
So the Stormers were taking the piss out of us by the 35 minute. They were like looking around. They weren't playing properly. They stopped playing properly. Like we lasted longer than last week, where it took 24 minutes to concede the bonus point. We managed to get to 28 minutes this week. Amazing. But the Stormers weren't trying. They were taking the piss, and it was kind of like they do something stupid on purpose, and then they'd be like, "Oh, it worked. Oh, right." And then they'd look round and pass it and score a try off it, and it was like, boys, like even the commentator on Viaplay, the South African commentator was like, "Scarlets, what are they doing?" And like he was getting frustrated with the Scarlets, and they were playing against what I assume a team that he was backing. You know, it's bad when that happens.
And if we look at the defense to start with, right? Let's look at defense, then let's look at the attack, and then let's look at, you know, everything else on top of that. Without, you know, naming names and all of that kind of stuff, because I can't pick out an individual and say they had a shit game, because it was across the board. There was just no intensity to that game. Do you know what I mean? It was like we forgot to have a chat in the changing rooms before to wind each other up. You know, there were days in the. Go on, mate.
Sorry, I was just going to say, 13 weeks we've been in camp. Has anyone had a chat with each other at any point?
Yeah.
Like, for example, when we get the ball off the back of a line out, what are we going to do? You know, that sort of a chat.
But
I'm pissed off. I calmed down a bit. I'm angry again now.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't blame
so
you.
Just to your point about intensity. So looking at the stats of the game, more magic numbers, 46% of our rucks were less than 3 seconds, i.e. more than half were longer than 3 seconds, whereas for the Stormers, 68% of their rucks were less than 3 seconds. So just to nail that home. So ball is available now. We played it now, right? That's how long that is. That's 3 seconds. And more than half of our rucks lasted longer than that.
And we're just saying to them, come and defend against us. And they did. And I just don't. It just felt very disheartening. To the bit that I had in my head at the end was, if you want us to support you, give us something to support. Because I couldn't see anything on that pitch on Saturday that I thought, you know, there's green shoots there. There's a little bit. There's somebody's got a bit of spark. You know, usually somebody somewhere is going. You know, they got a point to prove. You know, I thought Carwin to Pelotu had a massive point to prove. If I was him, I'd have been going absolutely fucking nuts on that pitch, and I saw nothing from him.
So he was our top carrier and top tackler, 15 carries, 15 tackles. But he made 16 meters from 15 carries.
Yeah.
So
and that's just crap.
So we averaged 1.8 meters per carry post-contact. The Stormers averaged 2.4. Whereas you say, 0.6 of a meter, that's not very far. That's a 33% betterment. They're one third better than us just in that.
But then you do that 10 times a game, you do that 30 times a game, you
exactly.
do that 50 times a game, you know. And this is the thing, there was just nothing there that, you know, we were falling off tackles. We had our back row falling off tackles against their winger and fullback. You know, we had our back row going full pelt at their fullback, and then the fullback just handing off, and you're like, what the fuck was that? You know, they were literally running through us in the fourth. The worst part of it for me was there was a part in the second half where it all got a little bit crazy, and Foxy's got the ball, and you go, right, okay, and he's on like the halfway line or whatever. You go, right, just stick it in there 22. You know, we've had a crack at it. We've made like 10 meters or whatever, but stick it in there 22. And even Foxy was like, do I kick it? Do I pass it? Do I run? No. There's a big guy coming at me. And then we got turned over. And I'm like, you know, for the amount of time that these boys have been together, the lack of ability to just make a decent tackle, you know,
playing as individuals. They play as individuals, and this has been a trait of us since Pivac left. Under Delaney, it was the same. It was I'll get the ball and I'll see if I can do something, and then if I can't, I'll just go to the ground, and then hopefully my teammates are around me to be able to staff the ruck properly. I mean, like 21 defenders beaten, right, across our team. We beat 21 defenders. That's not bad. One line break. So what does that tell you? That tells you we're messing around. We're not doing anything to the point of actually creating anything. I mean, you talk about, like, I wrote in my notes, it feels like after 2 phases we've lost all plan. So, you talk about set plays, right? And people think set plays, you have a backs move off a scrum or you have a backs move off a line out, right? No. Set plays in all, like football as well, and rugby, obviously. You have a set play off the line out, and then you go, and then if it goes wrong, right, you reset, and then your 10 calls another set play, and you go, right, we're going to do this many rucks, and then you run here and things like that. Nothing. The stats that came out after the Bulls game, we got turned over every 6.5 carries. So that is, I mean, I know it's like a completely different universe in terms of level, but you talk about in the World Cup where we've seen Ireland and New Zealand and things go 32 carries. We're not even making double figures in terms of carries in one phase of play. We can't. We just get turned over. That's because we don't know what we're doing. That's because the players don't know what the patterns are. And you talk about, I made the point, I started the pod with the conversation about it's a new team, and it is a brand new team that we've got. 13 fucking weeks in camp. What have they been practicing?
Go on, Mark. We you've been very quiet. That worries me.
Yeah. I don't want to chime in. I don't want to get in on all this. I mean, I've been racking my head. I've obviously, me and Hugh had a little conversation in a little group chat through the week. There needs to be some sort of accountability. Where that accountability lies is the main question. But facts are facts. 4 months. What are you doing? Like we've said it multiple times over the last few weeks. 3 dodgy little friendlies does not make a pre-season. And that's exactly what these 2 games have been. These 2 games have been our pre-season, because this is the sort of performance that you'd expect. You'd see boys just not, obviously it's never nice seeing it, but when they're not putting the work rate and the effort in, like, it doesn't really matter right now. They're just getting out of the system. They're getting ready. These boys are not match fit. They're not ready for this type of game. And it was evident. It showed massively. And it was an embarrassment more than anything else. And I honestly thought after the second half of last season, we were going to kick on. We'd got our defensive structure sorted. We brought in 2 experienced coaches with some pedigree behind them. We're going to start building. And, okay, South Africa away to start is not ideal to anyone, but we're going to have a good go of it. And to come with this, I mean, defense disappeared. I mean, one of the main things we were talking about last season was the effort and the work rate. The moment that tackle was made, they were getting away. They were up on their feet in the line, and it was just nowhere to be seen.
Yeah. So on your point about the new coaches we brought in and things. So just to run down, because I did a bit of a look back on our coaching staff, which brings me on to my weekly segment, the Scarlet shit website. So obviously the Scarlets have got a page, of course they do, about all their coaching staff. And on the players page, you hover your mouse over it, the player lights up in red, with Scarlet. So that's very good. And you click on it and it takes you to a bio, right? You go on the coaches page, you hover your mouse on it, coach lights up in red, click, nothing. No bio for the coaches. And one of them's a World Cup winning Springbok. Anyway, right. So let's start.
Just on him though, yeah. So we brought him in because we needed to improve our line out and our scrum. Yeah. And I know sometimes and I know we sound like we're banging the same drum over and over. Remind me to talk about drums later. But yeah. So we, 14 weeks in camp, and we still can't throw into a fucking line out, whether front, middle, or back. We still can't throw into a line out on our own ball. It's not like we're even stealing the opposition. We're gifting. There was a time, where we had a penalty inside the 22, and we didn't kick for the corner, and we didn't take a scrum because should we kick to the corner? No, we'll fuck up the line out. Should we have a scrum? No, we're going arseways in the scrum. Let's just tap and go then, shall we? Do you know what I mean?
I remember.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, like, I understand why you've done it, boys, but fuck me, that's got to give you a bit of a rocket at the arse when you come home about this is how much effort we need to put in to play at this level.
So on that then, so everyone I've spoken to, I'm very lucky that I get to speak to some South African rugby fans quite regularly. And everyone that I've spoken to says that Albert van den Berg is a good coach. And, South Africans know rugby and they know forwards. So if they say a forwards coach is a good forwards coach, then I believe them. Albert van den Berg is not the scrum coach. The scrum coach is Emma Phillips. Now, Emma Phillips obviously was a Scarlets player. He became our academy coach, and then he took over being contact skills coach on an interim basis, and then he became permanent in that role, and then he has taken on scrum coaching this season. Now that screams to me we haven't been able to recruit anyone to coach us, because you don't put him in charge of contact skills on an interim basis if you think he's the right person for the job. They've clearly given him the job as a stopgap and then made him permanent. Now, maybe he's impressed behind the scenes. I don't know. I'm not there. But it just screams we haven't been able to recruit someone proper for this job. Like I say, Albert van den Berg is not coaching the scrum. He's down as a forwards coach, but obviously you've got Emma Phillips doing this critical part of the game. And then just to run through the rest of the coaches, and I'm going to come to a grander point at the end of this. And Mark, give me your counterpoint at the end, because I know that we discussed this in the group chat. So you got Gareth Williams, defence coach, came through the system with Wales Sevens and then worked for Pivac for Wales. I don't know if people remember this. Pivac's defence while he was Wales coach, not our strong suit. And he was actually, obviously, Gareth Williams would have been working under Gethin Jenkins, who was the head defence coach. And then you've got Sean Carney, who's our strength and conditioning coach. Now, we talked about being absolutely bollocksed by about 20 minutes in both these games. So I reached out to Kaelan, who's an Irish content creator, and says, can anyone give me a reference for this guy? Because he was an Ulster coach. Note that will be relevant again in a moment. So he was an Ulster coach. And I said, do you have any references? And the Ulster fan came back with, honestly, the only thing I remember is us being out on our feet in Cape Town and not being able to keep the Stormers out. Huh, that's interesting. Does that ring a bell? Does that ring a bell? And then you've got Jared Payne, Ulster coach. He's our attack coach. Every professional coaching job he's had until now is as a defence coach. So this is his first attacking coach role. So he's flipped, if you like. He's doing the other side of the coin. And like I said, so you've got Carney and Jared Payne were at Ulster with Dwayne Peel. And then you've got Emma Phillips, former Scarlets player, has been in the Scarlets system, and Gareth Williams has got links to the Scarlets as well. The only person who doesn't have a history with the Scarlets is Albert van den Berg, who left his previous employ in unfortunate circumstances and was at a loose end. Dwayne Peel, are we just giving jobs to the boys? Is that what our coaching ticket is?
Ooh, I didn't expect that. But
I like the reaction though. I'm going to clip that reaction of ooh,
yeah,
ooh, sir.
Oh, I don't know. I never thought of it that way. I know one of the main reasons that why Shane Carney got the job was because of Peel's preference of working with him. So I mean, I know this is Peel's coaching setup, and it is a case of, you let your head coach decide who he wants. So there's always going to be an element of jobs to the boys in that when you've got one person dictating, who's coming in. I like this guy. I work well with him. I want him. Jared Payne, on the other hand, he's been chomping at the bit to get an attack coach role since Peel left Ulster. I mean, he was downright pissed off that he got turned over for that he left the following season. So I think Jared has got a bit of potential there. The way how he ended up coming to us was rather bizarre, because he went from defence coach to interim head coach to bye-bye, out the door. So, it's just one of them things where you get your new head coach in and they sack everyone else. So it was unlucky for him, but I'd like to say it was fortunate for us, but we got nothing to prove that at the minute. And we've gone on with Albert. We're still waiting to see. Emir Phillips, on the other hand, there has been some form of progression planning between him and Ben Franks over the last season on taking over the scrum. It wasn't just, Ben Franks is gone. Emir, this is your job now. He has been working with him over the last year to take on the role that was always planned.
Okay. I think the problem with coaches, I agree. As a head coach, there are a couple of different ways you can approach being a head coach, and you can either be hands-on and practical and involved, or you can surround yourself with good people and do the people side of it and motivate the people to gel together and provide the big vision and stuff. Yeah. And I don't know which one of those Dwayne Peel is. Yeah. I don't know if Dwayne Peel has got that vision. If you go back to Pivac had the vision, and that was quite clearly expressed through, Stephen Jones, and who was that dickhead we had as a defence coach at the time that then went on to be a dickhead as a defence coach for Wales.
Byron Hayward.
That's the one. Fine. Yeah. So, but there was a plan there. But, we're going to tackle them in a certain way. This is how it's going to run. And then the whole point is to create turnover opportunities. And then we're going to create turnover opportunities, and we're going to hit the wide channels really quickly. Yeah. There was that vision. There was a style of play. This is what we're trying to do. And I don't know if Dwayne Peel has found that for himself and for the Scarlets yet. I think he's brought people in that he's comfortable working with, and I completely get that. Yeah, sometimes those are the best relationships. Sometimes you need somebody that's going to butt up against you and challenge you. And sometimes you need somebody that's going to go, hang on a second, let me throw something. It depends on the type of person that you are. Yeah. And for me, I've worked with, both different types of coaches. And it's not that I prefer the confrontational side. I know that brings the best out of me, but it also wears me out really quickly. Yeah. So I can do that confrontational thing for like 2 seasons, but after that, we need to kind of find a new way to move on. But in those 2 seasons, we're going to work really, really hard to get to our next level. And I don't know whether Dwayne Peel has worked out how he wants us to play. Have we got the right players to play that? Like you say, it looks like those players are standing there going, shall I pass now? There's a player there that could be in space now. And we've gone from let's throw the ball wide early to actually one pass, contact, one pass, contact, one pass, contact. And if somebody makes a break, great, let's see if they can make the line.
So on that then, well, a couple of things. So yeah, just on, I guess I'll start with the player talk. One of the new players that we've signed is Johan Lloyd, right? And he's been playing as a 10 for us. It's 2 games in, so I haven't got very much to judge him on, although he did play in the game that we refuse to acknowledge that exists, and a couple of other pre-seasons as well. So in the Stormers game, Johan Lloyd, you imagine what you want from your 10. You want a controller, right? You want someone to boss you around the pitch. He kicked 5 times from hand. That is a small number. People could say, I don't like kicking, blah, blah, blah. 5 times through fly half to kick from hand is not very many. Okay, he passed 9 times for a number 10. And this is a Scarlet's 10 as well. This is we're supposed to play off 10. He passed 9 times. He carried 12 times. So that means that he was at the bottom of a ruck more times than he passed. And that is not what I want from my number 10. That is not what we needed in that game. And then there's his tackling. He's come from Bristol, where tackling is optional, because you got Semi Radradra in your team, or you got Charles Piutau in your team, and it's all about jouet. And in the English Premiership, if you're playing against the likes of Bath or Newcastle, you can get away with it. But guess what? Against the Bulls or the Stormers in the Big Boys League, you got to tackle. And there's 2 tries which, if Sam Costello had been on the pitch, would not have been conceded, because Sam Costello would have brought his man down. Whereas there was at least one occasion where off a line out, Stormers just went 12 running at the 10. Oh, we're through. Oh, it's a try, because Johan Lloyd could not tackle him. Just completely got swatted like a fly. And it comes like, I don't want to, it's 2 games. I want him to succeed. It comes back to the recruitment. Johan Lloyd has been recruited as a backup 10 to Sam Costello. And remember I said when ahead of the Barbars game, he gave an interview where he said, "Oh, I haven't played 10 very much. So I'm still sort of learning it." Why is our backup 10 that we're recruiting in? Why have we gone? We need a backup 10 to Sam, because he's going to be away with Wales, because he's progressed to that point where he's ready to be Wales' first choice fly half. We need a backup 10. Who should we get? How about the guy who's mostly playing as a winger for Bristol? Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Like, what's happened there? I don't know whether there's some kind of nudge has come from the Wales camp that says we want Johan Lloyd playing in Wales. Someone find a space for him or something. It's bizarre recruitment. And just finally on Dwayne Peel. Dwayne Peel said after the game, "Oh, I think some boys have learned what it's like, what it means to be at this level." Why didn't they know before the game, Wayne? Dwayne, why did they not know? They've been in camp with you for 3 months. Why did they not know what it took?
I kind of get where he's coming from with that. There is no way of replicating playing at that higher level. So I get that. I get, but I think the squad and the people he had available to him, put too many youngsters on that pitch, too many people that were vulnerable on that pitch. But Dan Davis came off with an injury, didn't he? Who else got injured? Well,
we had a lot of injuries, but it was because they weren't conditioned.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I mean. Is if you're gonna go to a place like that, like he knew that these first 2 games are coming. We knew that back in before the end of last season finished, virtually.
The URC was the first league to announce its fixtures.
Yeah. And the clubs get about 2 or 3 weeks, I think, before we do, so they can book the best hotels. But, if you know that that's there and you go, right, okay, I need all of my big boys ready for that. I'm going to take the big, heavy boys for that one, and we're going to play this. And you build to, it's just so frustrating as a fan, sitting there and I'm just going, I don't understand what we're trying to do. It's not like we're the Dragons who had a small squad and then shrunk it to a smaller squad. We had a decent sized squad and we shrunk it. We're still one of the biggest squads. We've brought in players where nobody else has brought in players like we have. It's so nut twistingly frustrating that I don't know. I just feel like screaming at the screen. I really do. I just feel like I'm not in a good way, in a way where somebody passing would go, "Is he okay?" Why is he shouting at the wall?
My last thing, I feel like I'm dominating the conversation. I want to get Martin's views as well. The last point I will make if anyone thinks we're being harsh, if you can't be harsh after you've just taken 115 points in 2 games, when can you be harsh? Secondly, a lot of people in region supporters at the moment are making the point of like, oh, it was always going to be like this. Blame the WRU, blame the Barbars game, blame whatever. I just want to give a bit of context for who we were playing. Yes, one of the best teams, but this best team, arguably the best team in the league, the 2 best teams in the league, apart from Leinster, they have a budget this season of 3.7 million.
No context.
Yeah, I will. So I'll come to it, Matt. I'll come to it. So their budget is 85 million South African rand, which translates to 3.7 million. That is up from a couple of seasons ago of 60 million rand, which is 2.6 million GBP. Now, the context, which I'm sure Martin will come to, is the cost of living in South Africa is vastly less than it is in the UK. So it comes to about, I looked up on a bunch of websites, it's about half. So things in South Africa cost you about half of what they cost you in the UK. So that's the context for that. However, that is also counts against South Africa in terms of retaining star players, because if a European club like Toulon or whoever comes and offers you $500,000 a year, you're a god in South Africa money wise. You've got like stupid money. Like you're as highly paid as anybody. So there's that. And also the context of the South African franchises play in 2 leagues. They play in the URC and they have a team in the Currie Cup as well. And it's the same clubs. So they're playing in 2 competitions. So they have wider squads. So they have, while we've got however many players in our squad, they've got about a third more players in their squads to cope with playing in the Currie Cup as well. So that's that context. All of the players in the Stormers team, apart from one, which is Ben Loader, who got signed from London Irish, are South African, and they all came through the system in South Africa. The Scarlets had a decent chunk of players who are imported. Now, most of those, apart from Alex Craig, all of ours are Welsh qualified. However, they came through systems outside of Wales. So Johan Lloyd didn't come through in Wales. Johnny McNichol, Tame Plumpty didn't come through inside Wales. So that's that context. Charlie Thickham I don't think came through inside Wales. He came from Loughborough, right?
Yeah.
So that's that context. So what's my point? My point is South Africa, to think that we have such a huge disadvantage in terms of resources compared to some of these South African teams, especially someone like the Lions, who are broke as anything, is disingenuous. And the old cliche, South Africans are massive and Welsh is tiny. Our pack is heavier than the Stormers pack.
We were 10 kilos heavier in the pack. Yeah.
So this is why the reason I'm saying all this, I'm not affording the Scarlets any excuses for this. They had Clayton Blomacheese at 10. How did he get on when he was with us?
Yeah, that's you can't argue that. No, with Clayton, no, with Blooming-Cheese. I'm going to reference Johan Lloyd for you, but what are you defining as coming through the system? Because Johan Lloyd was Cardiff through till he was 16. He went off to Clifton College then. So what was you a defining factor of brought through the system?
So maybe that was a bad example. He emerged at Bristol.
Okay, he went to Bristol because he went to Clifton College. I thought he went to the other one, where Gareth Edwards went, but he went there because Bristol told him to go there if he wants to be in the college. So, and that's quite common where English clubs will identify players, particularly in the Dragons and Cardiff region, and they'll go, come over the border, we'll put you into a private school, we'll pay for your education, it's a really good school, here's your education, lovely job. Scarlets do it. The Scarlets have brought in boys from, what's the guy that went to Jersey?
Harry
Williams.
Amtel. Did he go Amtel? But switch.
Yeah, he went to. Yeah, he didn't go to Jersey. I thought he went to Jersey and then came back, and then no. Anyway, So he was a schoolboy brought in with the most vaguest of Welsh connections, but it was a Welsh connection. It was a perfectly valid Welsh connection. He was brought into the Scarlets, given the contract, blah, blah, blah. Wales under-20s, booted back over the border. He'll be back in the Scarlet shirt in a couple of years' time, I'm willing to bet. Yeah. But there's a couple of boys in Scarlet's Academy now who are there because they've been brought in over the border, and that's what's going to happen to them. They're going to be there and they're going to be committed to. So it happens both ways. But I think we're moving away from the game. I think we're moving away from that game, and we could sit here and bang on about all that stuff through the night and all of that, and it would just drive me fucking nuts. It really would, because there are so many issues there that to try and deal with it in one pod would just be ridiculous. But I think we've done that game to death, with the exception of probably the worst part of this game. And I've heard South Africans criticise this, I've heard Ospreys criticise this, and most Scarlets fans went absolutely through the roof. The failure to have an effective TMO for a head contact, and I felt it was quite a bad head contact. There was clear head-to-head contact. The referee was no more than 5 meters away, so he may not. Yeah, but he may not, because the play was coming at him, so he may not have seen the direct contact. So I get that, but he
went to put the whistle in his mouth.
Yeah, he saw something was wrong. Yeah, and so he's gone. Mate, can you have a look at that tackle? What was wrong with that tackle? Yeah. Oh, sorry, but couldn't see. You're a fucking TMO. You've got pictures. You've got the same access to the pictures that we've got. We can see it on the fucking screen right in front of us, and you can't go, oh yeah, look, there's one head, there's another head.
He should have gone check straight away. He should have gone, hey, wait, stop the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They said we didn't have any angles. That is a lie. That is a straight up lie. They had the angle, because I saw it. I'm watching it on TV. Yeah, I promise myself I'm not going to do ref chat. But
it's not ref chat, mate.
Look, it wouldn't have changed it wouldn't have changed. I'm not saying that if the Stormers had a red card, we'd have won. Obviously not. But when the excuse they gave of we don't have the angles, that is untrue.
And if they uphold that and they say, oh yeah, that's a load of bollocks, because that's saying it's okay, you can pick and choose what games you have an effective TMO for. If they didn't have the angle on that, they should have known that before the game. Referees don't turn up 10 minutes before and go, all right, who's playing? Yeah, they're there the day before. The media teams and the TMO teams are there the day before, and when they do captain's runs, they check their angles and they check to make sure all of the video feeds and all of the satellite feeds and all of that bollocks is working. So if they didn't do that the day before, then there's something wrong. If they didn't do it on the morning of the game, there is something wrong. And if they did those, and then they turned up to the game and they still couldn't find it, someone's either lying or lazy, neither of which is acceptable in a professional league. You wouldn't have that in professional knitting, for God's sake, let alone in the fucking URC. Oh, you can tell I'm stressed by this, can't you?
Yeah, well, there was just there is no excuse. You can't argue it. I mean, they say there's no angles. It was up online within a minute.
Yeah.
Total bullshit. And I'm not saying it was going to definitely be a red, because you find mitigation in anything. Like, I honestly thought Sam Cane was going to be a yellow when I first saw that, because you find mitigation wherever you want. That's what TMOs do. Oh, we'll find a way to keep this boy on the pitch. But it's just such a massive failing. And then for Roberts to go off for the HIA, so you recognise there's been head contact, but you're not going to do anything.
Independent doctor's seen it.
Yeah. And he was 50 meters away watching it on a screen that you couldn't see. Should we move on, gents? Should we? I'd like to say lower our stress levels, but I don't think it's going to.
I want Martin to tell me I'm wrong about something. I want, because I feel like I've gone in, because I have, but I want Martin to knock me down a few inches, because I don't want to be right about the things that I've said. I want to be wrong.
You want to be wrong. What would you like to be wrong about? Anything in particular?
Us being shit. I would like to be wrong about that.
Oh, no, I can't help with it, mate. I really can't. No, I can kind of help, but with Johan Lloyd, I know his first up tackling and a couple of tries he were conceded through him, but I put more blame on Foxy because of his positioning, and he was pointing to where he wanted Johan to be, and he was never going to get there. And then he just bites in, and the player goes through. So there's those. Obviously, that comes with not playing together very much, and that goes back to the whole preseason point. Blah blah blah. We see the failings. We know the failings. They can't be fixed. It's just going to take time, which is hell for any fan. And personally, I'm happy to send off these boys. Pack their bags. Go have a bloody week off somewhere on the dole. Would you want to play this game or what?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. You're gonna have to earn the right to get that shirt back on, because there's a long stream of players who may not have been through the system like you have, but I tell you what, they put that shirt on and they'll give you absolutely 100% on Saturday. And they may not be perfect, and they may not be the best guys on the planet, but they'll give you 100% heart and 100% attitude and 100% effort on that pitch on Saturday. And no player that came off that pitch on Saturday can put their hand on their heart and say, I gave 100% in that game. Because if you do, you can fuck off somewhere else, son, because that's not 100%. That's not 100% for a Scarlet. It's as simple as that. Right, let's move on.
I've got a positive.
Oh, go on then.
Yay!
My instant reactions to this 2 Scarlets absolute batterings are by far the most watched things on Rap YouTube.
Yay!
Yeah.
Well, that's only a positive for you.
Yeah, I'll give you that. So let's move on to the game for this weekend. So I'm going to have my 2 penneth with before we start with this game on the weekend. So first of all, the idea of the WRU competing against this. I'm not going to say it's us competing against the WRU. This is a WRU competing against the regions. And it's not just the Scarlets region, because it happens to be this time that Scarlets versus Cardiff is the game getting shafted. I don't think it's a coincidence that this is the weekend that the Ospreys decide to play in London, because they're going to get a bigger crowd in London than they are at home. So
3,000 they had this week.
Yeah, you listen to the Rap podcast, mate. And
that's a bloated number. There's no way there was even 2,000 in that ground. It was pathetic.
Well, we need to look at, let's look at the Scarlets and let's look at why we aren't putting 14,000 narces on seats every week, because that's the level we need to start thinking at. We need to stop thinking about, 8 or 9 grand, 8 or 9,000 people. That's a good crowd, which it is relative to who if we want to be the best.
For a rugby club, that is a decent, for a professional rugby team that not in France, that is a decent attendance at 8 or 9,000.
And that's kind of my point. Is if we want to be the best of the best, then you've got to set your sights to that bit where you go, actually, we're going to play a certain style of rugby, we're going to entertain, we're going to provide all these things at the ground and all of that kind of stuff, and we're going to make it an atmosphere. Yeah. And we don't. So we said when we spoke to Ed Jenks a couple of weeks ago, right? And we said about let's bring the drums, let's bring the trumpets, let's bring something into the ground, and have a little bit of fun. Let's have a little bit of, let's make some atmosphere in there, because the atmosphere inside a ground relies on the people. Yeah. So let's do something. Let's not just sit there and say, oh yeah, we're amazing. No, we're 8,000. I think our average gate last year was 8,000, and that was after a good European run. Yeah. So 8,000 means every week there are 6,000 seats empty. We're just over half full every week. Yeah. And we need to find a way as a club and as supporters to fill that stadium every week. And this is the bit that pissed me off. So when I said about the drums and the trumpets and all of that kind of stuff, and I put it out on social media, yeah, and I said, right, let's get some atmosphere going here. Let's do some stuff. And the comments back are, no thanks, we sing loud enough as we are. Fuck off. I've been in that stadium, yeah. I can hear fucking fags being dropped in the North fucking Terrace most games, yeah. Unless we're winning, it's absolutely dead, yeah. And to say that we're we because we sing songs. No, we sing songs when we win at the end. We might have a little bit of a sing song at the start. You might, if you're lucky, get a little bit of Sosban Vach if there's a series of 5-yard scrums, yeah. And this is the no, don't bring the drums, don't bring the trumpet. We want to sing. Then fucking sing. Do you know what? Sing when somebody's beating the drum. There's just this lack of ambition, this lack of vision, this lack of we should be. I'm okay. I've got my seat, and I'm going to sit here and in my nice cozy warm down. Now I'm going to get a cup of tea, and then it's going to be lovely. And yeah, thank you very much. No, the game needs to move on. We need to evolve. We need to connect with people. We need to create some reason to go there, and we need to show people having a fun time. We need to start marketing that game out beyond where it is. Cardiff are going to bring a whole load of fans this weekend. Yeah, because Cardiff are as pissed off about this game as we are. So on the Cardiff pod that's just finished recording now, they're talking about, can we bring buses down? Can we do this? They're talking to the supporters trust, and they're going, yeah, do you know what? Let's actually support each other here and let's bring it down. So there's going to be a whole load of Cardiff people coming down. Yeah. We need to max this game out from a Scarlet's point of view, and we need to be absolutely brimful of people. And yeah, some of them need to have a big bloody drum and a trumpet, and we need to be singing and banging the drum and playing songs and making an event of it. Yeah. And this is before we go into all the bollocks behind the scenes about you can't criticize players and you can't criticize this and you can't criticize that. You can. Because do you know what? Our expectation is here and what we're delivering is here. And that difference in between the two needs to be bridged. And we're doing our best as supporters to create an environment inside that ground that players want to play in. Yeah. Those players need to know that when they run out, there's 10,000 people behind them every week screaming and shouting and thinking they're the best things in sliced bread. Yeah. And all we need is a little bit of thinking that goes, oh, do you know what? Let's move stuff on. And that's not happening at the minute. And it's pissing me off. Something crazy. It's not a good week to piss me off, both. I'm telling you now, it's not been a good start to the week.
No, that's been the same way for donkeys. I mean, I like we've only been running this a year. How many times has this come up in conversation? The lack of comms, the lack of marketing is just, it's as though the Scarlets doesn't exist outside of main Llanelli. It's abysmal in that. One of the things that has made this weekend even more difficult, I think, is the fact that WRU put out a notice to the clubs a couple of weeks ago that they could cancel their games for the Barbars match. Okay, either ticket sales have gone incredibly badly, or you really, really just want to shoot us in the arse. I mean, I think the moment we found that out, we should have been sending an exact copy of that email. Look, if you cancel your game, you can come down here for half price.
Yeah.
I would have done that. I would have happily, I'll be honest, I would happily have sold tickets at £3, £4, £5 a pop just to pack this out and be a massive middle finger up the arse of the WRU.
So let's discuss the game. I think everyone's feeling our frustration. If anyone is still left listening, everyone's feeling our frustration. What do we bring to this game, Hugh? What do our backline need to bring to this game on Saturday to make sure we come off victorious?
Johan Lloyd needs to play like a 10 and not a winger.
I was trying to go with the positive side of it. Go on.
Okay, so I was going to go down the selection road. I'd like to see Archie Hughes. I'd like to see Eddie James. That's all I'll say. On that, what does our backline? It needs to have some kind of strategy, some kind of. I'll do this, and then when I do this, you do that. That sort of a thing. Look, I watched Dragons Cardiff. It wasn't good. So I've watched pretty much every team in the URC now over the first 2 rounds, apart from Ulster live. And the
what a life! What a life!
The gap between a lot of the other games and the Welsh regions is quite stark. Although, I'm not going to say that because that would mean praising a team that I don't want to praise. So Cardiff aren't amazing. They beat the Dragons, but the Dragons were terrible. They weren't as terrible as us, but they were terrible. But all the best players who were playing for Cardiff against Dragons aren't going to be there. So while we've had, in fairness, 2 weeks of playing pretty much the same team back to back, they've played a team, then they played like their main guys back, and then they're going to be gone again. So I would be surprised if Tintis De Beer even met Thomas Williams before they played together against the Dragons. So that helps. We know what De Beer is about now because we've seen the way he liked to do that dink in behind. We know that his goal kicking is a little bit suspect. So I think we've got a bit of homework on him. We know we can't kick aimlessly to Cam Winnett because he will catch it because he is clearly got something about him. And we know that we can't kick loose to Theo Cabango because he has got wheels. Apart from that, I'm not sure that I see many threats coming from Cardiff. And I'll let Mark talk more about the forwards, but Cardiff's scrum isn't much to worry about either. So that should help us a lot. And then it's just a case of, could the real Scarlets please stand up? And hopefully they do.
Okay, so Mark, let's talk forwards. Let's talk about the pretty boys.
Always the pretty boys.
What can we expect? What do we need from the forwards in order to come home? To come off the pitch with a win.
Well, first and foremost, we need to see our forwards because we haven't seen them for the past 2 weeks. And I wish I could say I was being mean by there, but I'm really not.
They've seen their own asses.
Yeah, that's one thing they have done. Looking at this weekend, especially with the Barbars, I think we need to take a more of a focus and direct attack against the Cardiff pack because we're only losing Plumtree. And as good as a player Plumtree can be, what is he? He's a flashy player. He's not the type of guy that you see doing the nitty-gritty hard work constant all the time. He's the one, he's there with the flash and the panache and he will do something good and he'll get over the line. But whereas Cardiff, they've lost what they call this scrummaging props, in Domakowski and Azarati, and right behind them, we know Carey's going to be starting. The only thing he's got is his size. If we're talking about actual scrummaging, we go behind Azarati and he's gone. They've got one with a red card. I don't know what sort of ban he's facing, but that should be a lifetime for what I saw. And so they're down to their third choice tight end. So realistically, the scrum wasn't strong anyway. And now we're in a position where we're playing the second, third string. So when it comes to that forward battle, we need to be pushing them back. The only downside I see is the back row battle, because they've got about 3,820 back rowers. And,
they're playing them in the second row because they haven't got any second rows.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, really. I don't know what the score is with Tamani, whether or not he comes back, but he's just a chunk. He doesn't really offer that much around the park anyway. But I think Teddy Williams is turning to be a big loss for them, because he's developing into quite a player, and I'm glad to see the back of him. But all in all, if we get Josh McLeod back, if Fifita is playing in the back row instead of the second row, which a lot of us have been suspecting, this should be very comfortable of us getting front football and really punishing this guy. If we learn, which basically over the last 2 weeks, if we've learned anything, we need to actually play the game, not just, like I said, one-up runners, pass run. It's like we turn into the Ospreys. It's disgusting to watch.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
This is. I know you don't like me saying it, but this is Llanelli. This is Scarlet's rugby. There's flair. There's passion. There's the way you play the game. You don't stick it up a jumper and hope for the best. Just drive and grind down. That's not the way we play. We play the game in a way you want to be entertained. You excite. This is where the likes of Benny have come from. And to see what we've produced over the last 2 weeks. Yeah, we scored 4 tries on South Africa. Yeah, you conceded bloody 17. How good is that? We need to see something of what we can be. And Peel has been a part of that. Peel has been a part of that on the pitch. He was there in 2007 in that Heineken semi-final run. He's been in these sides where they've been successful at playing real rugby, the Scarlet way. He's been there with Ulster playing the attacking style that they have pulled out. Same as Bristol. He's been involved in these setups as a player, as a coach. He should know how to do it.
Are you done?
I think that was my rant.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say.
Clip that up and play that in the changing room before the game. They'll come out and they'll be fired up.
Well, I think for me, looking at the tactics, there are some key elements there that we need to attack. And first of all, as we've all said, we need to come out all singing, all dancing and firing. Yeah, I actually prefer Fifita as a second row. I think every time he's been in the back row, he's just
back, isn't he? Oh, we're definitely winning.
But I think Fifita and Lousy in the second row actually give us a lot of go forward. I think the golden triangle was completed with Calmafoni at number 8 because they balanced each other.
The Tongan triangle. The when in doubt, just give it to a Tongan.
Yep, that one. Yeah. But it did. There was a balance of offloading, there was a balance of crash ball, and there was a balance of what the fuck's happening next. Yeah. There was all these different things. And in defence, it was if somebody's not breaking your knees, then they're taking your head off. So, there was a load of different bits in there that were competitive and they were passionate. So that's why I like Fifita and Lousy. And I don't know why Lousy wasn't playing in South Africa, because he was out there. Yeah, they said he went from the World Cup and he went to South Africa. So maybe he picked
played in the first game. He didn't play in the second.
His calf, he picked up a little niggle. Not sure how serious it is, but I'm hoping it was just a precaution. But that's all I saw when they done the announcement.
Okay, I missed that. So if he's back and you've got Fifita, then the line out is very different. Yeah, and Cardiff can't throw a fucking banjo at a horse's arse in the line out. Yeah, so we're in the game at the line out. Like you said, we're in the game at scrum time. So you have to attack those areas. You have to put pressure on their 10. There's no pressure being put on them yet. Yeah, Dragons were nowhere near him. He had all the time in the world. So they made him look good. We need to get somebody in his face right from the start and rough him up. He's young. He's not used to playing.
Red carded.
No, not necessarily. Possibly yellow carded, but yeah, somebody's got to get into him. They got to rough his ribs. They got to stick one on his leg, especially his kicking leg. Yeah, and you got to stick your shoulder on his kicking leg and give him a dead leg from the start. These are all the bits that you go, right, okay, then that allows you to play the game. But to do that, you need to have your passion. Yeah, you don't need all the other stuff to do that. You don't need a massive amount of skill to run at someone and hit them really, really hard. You don't need a massive amount of skill to pull yourselves tight in a scrum and get determined and go forward. You don't need a massive amount of skill to do what you do every single fucking week in a line out and throw a guy up in the air and another guy throw the ball to him. So for me, the way we beat Cardiff is by coming back with a reaction. And I don't care how the scoreboard looks at the end of the game, as long as we've got at least one more point than them on there. It could be 3-0. I don't care. But I want to see some passion, and we could have 79 minutes of fighting. I'd be happy with that, because at least the boys are showing that they want to be there.
I'll be disappointed if there's not a scrap.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's the first proper one of the season. I mean, that one on the weekend they played. I can't remember somewhere down east. Wherever they play, that doesn't count. That's not a real derby. That's your warm up to the derbies. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So let's we'll do some predictions, and then we've got Christ Mark. We've still got to go through the fixtures for the weekend as well. So let's do this really, really quickly. So predictions for the Scarlets Cardiff game. Matt?
Oh, comfortable Scarlets win. I'll go 24-12.
24-12. Okay, Hugh?
16-15 to the Scarlets.
Cool. And I'm going to stick with my 12-9 with penalties apiece. 4 penalties against 3 penalties and like 8 yellow cards to the Scarlets. Not all yet. There'll be 8 yellow cards in the game because it's just going to be fighting and stuff. But 12-9 to the Scarlets as an end to that. So, right, let's quickly run down fixtures and scores from last weekend. Have you got your stuff in front of you, Matt? He's got a book. He's got a book, Hugh. That's preparation, that is,
so
man.
Are we back doing this in the main pod?
Oh, yeah, I keep fucking it up when I do it on my own. And I keep forgetting to put it out there. And then it gets to Saturday morning and I go, oh, shit, I haven't done the rundown. And then I do the hoovering instead and I don't put it out. And then I go, oh, crap, I got to do the scores. And then I'll open a beer and watch a game. So the idea was that we were going to run through this really, really quickly tonight. I think we do this at the start. I think that's the answer. Right, do you want to go first, Smart, and then I'll do Westerer as best for a second?
Yeah, why not? Okay, we'll start off with the Premiership. We've already touched on it earlier in the actual main pod. Carmarthen Quins 18, Swansea 25, Llandovery 38, Neath Stefan. Cup round this week. So Championship Cup, Ammanford went down 19-24 at home to Western Rhondda, and Llangennith travelled to Glamorgan Wanderers. Game finished 26-all. Llangennith go through on try-count. So count themselves lucky they played the game the right way. Division 1 Cup, only one team for us. Llanelli Wanderers beating Morriston 28-9 at home. Down into Division 2, Am United picking up one of their only few wins of the season so far, 15-10 at home to Taswell. There was another game to Christ Hoylecow that's been postponed. We're still waiting to find out whether or not that's going to be confirmed as a walkover or if it's going to be rearranged. A league match now in 3 West B, and Llangadog went down 20-26 at home to New Dock Stars into Division 5 Cup. Colwyn Bay seconds hosted Pennybank. Pennybank came away with an 18-8 win, so they didn't travel up for nothing. Well done, boys. And Pantavannan beat Forgeside 25-22 at home. And the last game of any note was the Dewar Shield final round game between Ceredigion and Llanelli. Ceredigion winning 43-5 to wind up the final game of the regional round. The knockouts will be announced shortly, and we're looking forward to it.
Are you going to do fixtures for this weekend as well? Or do you want me to do mine and then...
I'm turning the page.
He's turning the page. He's turning the page. He's that organised. He's got them separate pages. That's class, that is, mate.
It's literally like...
It's only a wee book.
6.
Go on then.
Okay. Fixtures this week. Carmarthen Quins are on the road to Aberafan. Llandovery as well travel to the Brewery Field at Face Bridgend. An all-West clash by here in the Championship. Be the same for Ewley. Ammanford at home to Crymych, and Llangennech travel to Newcastle Emlyn. Down in 1 West, Bury Port are at home to Aberystwyth. Felinfall against Kidwelly. Pontarddulais host Llanelli Wanderers, and Whitland travel to Hendy. 1 West Central, Bryn Aman are away to Morriston. Into 2 West, we got Carmarthen Athletic at home to Tenby. Aman United against Pontyberem. That's a tasty one. This is 12th 11th. This is the type of clash you want to see. To Croyce travel to Fishguard, and then Nantgaredig host Mumbles. Over in 3 West B, we got Betters at home to Tumble. Cefnathan, Penygroes, Llandailo, Llandibby, Llangadog hosting Trimsaran, and New Dockstars away to Tregaron. And the last set for me in 5 West Central, Pontiates travel to Fall Bay, Pennebank travel to Seven Sisters, and courtesy of 11-team league, Panderfynon have got a week off.
Cool. So I'll do the West ones, and a lot of them you've already been through, Mark. So I'll do them all together with scores and fixtures. So Championship West, Narberth beat Rumney 24-10. And then, as we've already said, fixtures for this weekend. Narberth haven't got a fixture. Ammanford host Crymych, and Newcastle Emlyn host Llangennech. Division 1 West, a game between Aberystwyth and Pontarddulais was postponed because Aberystwyth were in the Cup. And in the Cup, they beat Nantafwllon 13-6. Whitland lost 2019 at home to Felinfall. And then, as you've already said, Mark, we've got Bury Port, Aberystwyth, Hendy, and Whitland. Division 2. This game really deserved more. St Clair's at home to Tenby, 24-23. Last kick of the game, Tenby slotted a penalty to win that game. So that was superb. And then fixtures this weekend, they say Carmarthen Athletic, Fishguard to Croyce, and then Milford host St Clair's this weekend in what could be determined as a local derby. Excuse me. So Division 3 West A, there was 1 game in the league, which is the rearranged game between St David's and Haverfordwest. Haverfordwest came out 31-6 on top. And then in the Cup, Cardigan beat Newtown 18-10. Fixtures for this weekend, Abereyron host Pembroke, Cardigan host Haverfordwest, Langham host Llanybother, Neyland host St David's, and the Quins host Larne. Thank you very much. That is all of that done and dusted.
Boom.
So, boom, job done. So you've got 1 bit left to do before we finish off tonight. It's just going to be one of the new bits. So we're going to call it Lee's Funny Bits just to finish. So we're going to have a look at Lee's Funny Bits for the weekend. So I got 2 funny bits. Okay, one of them comes from the World Cup, where Oxnitch was asked after the game.
Unshay. It's Oxnitch, not Oxnitch.
It's Nitch. It's Oxnitch.
It's not.
Yeah, it
How
is.
would you like it if people started pronouncing all these West Wales place names in the wrong way?
Mate, we've done the podcast with you, and you're still alive. So yeah. So Ox was asked after the game. So his running theme throughout the World Cup has been how much cake he eats. He's been asked about what nutrients you're taking each day, and he said, "Oh, what's in a cake?" And he said, "How many calories do you take in each day?" He said, "About 4 slices of cake," and all this kind of stuff. So he was asked after the game, how would he be celebrating? Was there anything special he was going to do to celebrate? And he said, saw a rather nice cheesecake after breakfast in the hotel this morning, which I thought the fact that you've just played in a World Cup final, you just won a record 4th time in a World Cup final, but you can still remember the cheesecake that you saw 6 hours ago at breakfast.
He's been thinking about that all day, hasn't he? He's been in the changing room, putting his tape on and stuff, and he's been going.
Little bits of dribble coming down.
I bet he's got one saved for the following morning, and that's what it is. He knows he's having it again.
So the other bit that I want to highlight is on social media. It's not actually a rugby thing, but it's to do with rugby clubs, and this has happened quite a few times, and it's hilarious every single time it happens. So there's a local medium that does a lot of stuff in rugby clubs. So she'll go to rugby clubs. I can feel the presence. I can feel the letter J coming at me, and all of this bollocks. So,
is there anyone here called Jones?
Yeah. I'm sensing a Williams or something like that. So I just had a look. I was looking for the WIU stuff, and she's obviously doing a bit of a tour at the minute. Several of her medium nights have been cancelled or postponed and moved for unseen circumstances. I'm like, cancelled. The medium night has been cancelled for unseen circumstances. It's one of those things that just tickles me constantly because it happens all the time. So, those are my funny bits for tonight, guys. Right, been a bit of a long one, hasn't it, gents? It's
has it?
We had a lot to say.
There's a lot to say. And some of it rhymed with duck. So,
well, I don't think that was much from me, but there.
So, what we say to fans right now. Okay, so I'm just going to finish up by wrapping it up with a message to fans, to our fellow fans out there, that it's okay to criticize the team and support the team because we've got a higher expectation of the team. It's okay to sit there and say I expect more. But we also have to turn up on the Saturday and stand in the crowd and cheer. And I say that as a bit of a hypocrite because I know I can't go this weekend, but that doesn't stop me wanting other people to go and wanting to be there and encouraging people to be there. So it is pack the park this weekend. The whole point of this weekend is to pack the park. Let's send a message to the WIU that we are as important as we believe we are. Let's send a message to the WIU that they cannot treat clubs and regions and supporters the way they are, and enough is enough. And if we pack the park, that will be the message that we send to the WIU that basically goes, fuck you and good night. And on that, gents, fuck you and good night.
Oh, well, right back at you, mate.
We're right back at me. All right, gents, hopefully next week we'll have something positive to talk about, and it'll be a nice, happy, cheery one. Enjoy your rugby in the meantime, and I'll see you next week. All the best.
Cheers, boys.
Good boys.
All the best, boys. Great talking to you as always.
Thank you for listening to the Scarlet's Fever podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please subscribe, rate and review wherever you listen to us, as it really helps us spread the word. You can find us on all the usual social media channels or email us on welshregionalrugbypod@gmail.com. And remember, whatever the question, rugby is always the answer.
Sports Social Podcast Network.